You're watching a Highwire Media podcast.
What kind of player are the Dallas Cowboys getting with Tyler Booker? We'll break it all down tonight. Welcome back to the Big D Breakdown, part of the Highwire Media Network. Your team every week. Thanks so much for making us your first listen. Today's episode is brought to you by Fanatics. Let's jump into our full breakdown of Cowboys first round pick, Tyler Booker. Over the next few weeks, we're doing these deep dives on several of the top draft picks Dallas has made over the weekend to better understand how each player fits into the team's plans. But today, it's all about Booker. Before we talk about scheme fit, projection, and upside, let's start with Booker as a pure prospect. Coming out of Alabama, Booker is a physical presence on the offensive line. That shows up on tape and interviews and how he talks about football. He's a guy who takes pride in burying defenders in the run game and protecting his quarterback with a mean streak. He's not content just to stand in front of someone. He wants to dominate. He finishes blocks with violence. There's a clip out on Twitter that perfectly sums him up. It was a screen pass where he finishes his block, turns around, and the defender is still trying to push through him. Booker just leans back and flattens him to the ground. That's the kind of tone setter he is. He likes to put people on the turf and make them quit. And it's not just a mindset. His tape backs it up. He's got strong technique and powerful hands, and he uses both to move defenders off their spots and create space in the run game. He's just not shielding defenders or acting as a wall. He's removing them from the play. He brings a physical edge and an identity to the offensive line that the Cowboys have been needing. Now, I took some notes when watching him, and one thing that stood out. I actually think he's a better pass blocker than run blocker right now. For example, last year he gave up 10 total pressures, but 2 of those came early in the season when he played a bit at left tackle. As a guard, he allowed just 8 pressures over the full year. Part of that is Alabama's tight offensive line splits. Their linemen play close together, unlike teams like the Chiefs, where you see wide spacing. Booker thrives in those tighter splits. He's got the strength to anchor down and hold his ground against interior defenders. My hope is that the Cowboys will adopt similarly tight splits in their offensive line spacing to maximize his strength and power. That approach also works well with the direction the Cowboys seem to be headed: more gap and man-blocking schemes, more condensed formations. And when you're running more gap plays, you want those splits closer anyway so the guards and tackles can pull and fold underneath each other more effectively. Booker's wide base is a major asset. He's a big man, 34.5-inch arms and 84-inch wingspan, and that lets him use a trail hand to feel stunts and lay pressure, even if he's not looking directly at it. He strikes early in pass pro because of that length and can stop defenders before they generate momentum. Now, he's not perfect. One thing he still needs to improve is refitting his hands during a rep. Sometimes his hands get too wide, and while he has the athleticism and length to recover, resetting his hands more quickly will make him even more effective. Still, when it comes to just being an obstacle at guard, a guy defensive tackles have to find a way around, he's going to be a big problem. His size, strength, and base make him hard to beat. Switching gears to his run blocking again, I think he's already excellent in pass protection, but he has tools to be a strong run blocker too. The only time I see him struggle is against those really undersized, quick defensive tackles who can slip under him. But if you're asking him to win a physical battle against a 310 to 320-pound defensive tackle who wants to brawl, I'm betting on Booker every time. And sure, those smaller guys might win a rep or two with quickness, but they're also going to take a pounding on the reps they lose. Booker plays nasty, especially against smaller defenders. He doesn't just beat them, he punishes them. So even if he's not perfect as a run blocker just yet, he's going to instantly upgrade the Cowboys' physicality in the run game. He can move people at the line of scrimmage. When he's blocking defensive tackles or ends, he can move them off the screen. Now, when he's trying to get to the second level to block linebackers, sometimes he doesn't finish those blocks quite as consistently. But I don't think that's what the Cowboys are going to ask of him very often. They're going to want him to execute duo blocks, work double teams and clear lanes, and he excels at that. Even when he doesn't land cleanly at the second level, he's so big and athletic that he can at least shield defenders and slow them down. If you look at his college resume, it's impressive. He was a freshman All-American at Alabama, even though he only started 1 game as a freshman. He played 230 snaps, which is not insignificant at a program like Alabama. Over the next 2 years, he became a full-time starter, earned second-team All-SEC, and was named a first-team All-American. That's the kind of background you want. Teams often get into trouble when they draft linemen who weren't very good in college and just hope they develop in the NFL. That's not the case with Booker. He was a dominant player at one of the best programs in college football. His athleticism isn't an issue, and he's already shown he can do everything he'll be asked to do at the NFL level. Now, let's talk about scheme and potential fit. There are always going to be scheme-specific concerns when you evaluate an offensive lineman. For example, 2 years from now, the Cowboys fire Brian Schottenheimer and bring in someone like Mike McDaniel to run a wide zone offense. I might have some concerns about Booker in that system. That's not to say he couldn't survive it in it, but a Shanahan-style wide zone system asks a lot from its guards, especially in terms of lateral movement, fluidity, and quickness to reach second-level defenders in space. Booker isn't necessarily built for that. He's more of a powerful downhill mauler. That's not a knock, it just means you want to put him in the right system. But here's the thing, that's not the offense he's walking into right now. The Cowboys under Schottenheimer and new offensive line coach Clayton Adams are going to be more gap and man-oriented scheme. And that's exactly what Booker excels at. The types of run concepts they're going to run, inside zone, duo, power, he's played directly into his skill set. In fact, according to PFF, his best graded run blocking concept last year was inside zone. That's a vertical downhill run where the offensive line takes one step sideways and then engages to get vertical push. It's not a finesse play, it's a physical block first concept, and Booker thrived in that. He could hip check and nose tackle into the center and then climb to the second level. That's exactly the kind of responsibility he likes to be handed in Dallas. PFF gave Booker an overall run blocking grade around 64 last season. But when you break it down by run concept, he scored much higher on inside zone, man, and duo runs, exactly the kind of plays the Cowboys are going to lean into. He did not score as well on outside run or counter plays that require more movement and agility, but again, that's not a huge issue in this offense. Another run concept worth mentioning, Jerry Jones even brought this up, was quarterback sneaks. It's not a huge part of the playbook, obviously, but Booker was one of the highest graded blockers in college football on quarterback sneak plays. Jerry said maybe the Cowboys could start running more tush-push type plays with a player like Booker leading the charge. And frankly, with that kind of strength and size inside, it's a real possibility. Now, I do wonder if these grades on quarterback sneak also reflect how well he performed on quarterback power plays, which were some of Alabama's favorite run concepts last year. Those are basically just downhill gap runs with the quarterback, and Booker looked very comfortable in those situations as well. It's another reason why he projects so well into this offense. They want physical linemen who can create movement and phone booth, not guys who win with finesse and lateral mobility. Look at the types of blocks where Booker struggled a little more again. It's mostly plays that require him to get out in space. Things like outside zones and long pulls for the Cowboys aren't going to major in those kind of runs. With Booker, Tyler Smith, and Terrence Steele, they've built an offensive line to play physical, direct football. They're going to run behind power. All right, now let's shift over to his fit with the current Cowboys offense. That's what really matters, how he fits into Brian Schottenheimer and Clayton Adams' system, not what he looked like in some hypothetical wide zone scheme. The exception right now is that he'll play right guard. That's the spot vacated by Zach Martin, and the Cowboys clearly see Booker as someone who can step in and continue the level of physicality and toughness. In a gap scheme, you're asking your guards to do one of two things: pull around to the other side or down block aggressively on the play side. Either way, Booker is a great fit. If he's pulling, he brings that size and violence into the alley and can blow up second-level defenders. If he's the play side guard, he can down block with enough power to create big running lanes. Honestly, if I were a defensive tackle and I saw a Tyler Booker down block coming, I'd want to at least be warned because he's not coming soft. Let's say he's paired on the right side with Terrence Steele. That's a duo blocking dream scenario. Those two together can collapse a defensive front. They can create movement. And what that gives you is flexibility in the run game. You can call plays on either side. You don't have to favor one guard over the other. Between Booker on the right and Tyler Smith on the left, you can run behind either guard and get downhill. That's balance, and that's what this offense needs. Let's not forget what Dak Prescott has said in the past. He prefers a strong interior pocket, and that's where he's comfortable. He can handle edge pressure better than interior chaos. So building a stout wall in front of him is critical. Booker, Smith, and whoever wins the center job, like likely Brock Hoffman or Cooper Beebe, can give Prescott that solid interior pocket. If you go back to 2021, this offense was statistically one of the best in the NFL. Same in 2023, but there were times when they struggled to convert in key moments. Short yardage, red zone, late game drives. Part of that was inconsistency in the run game and lack of physical identity. And this pick helped solve that. By investing in linemen like Booker and Smith, guys who embody physicality, you're not just talking about being a tough run team, you're actually building one. And the value of that shows up in cold weather games, playoff games, and late in the fourth quarter. Now they've got two guards who can move people, who can collapse the line, who can create creases, and that's how you control a game when you need to. Now let's talk about what Tyler Booker's selection means for the Cowboys' offensive line depth and the future outlook of this unit. Heading into the draft, the Cowboys already had a lot of bodies on the interior offensive line. Brock Hoffman is still here, a guy who started several games at center last season. Robert Jones started 17 games for the Dolphins before joining the Cowboys. They signed Hakeem Adeniji, who got experience. TJ Bass showed flashes last year. They brought in Sahik Charles as well. That's a lot of interior depth, and that's not even counting guys like Matt Farnick or TJ Richards, who can also kick inside and play guard. So something's got to give. They clearly can't keep all of these guys. There's going to be a sorting process throughout training camp and preseason, but even beyond just raw depth, there's the positional alignment to consider. This is a new offensive line coach, a new scheme, and potentially new ideas about who fits where. That could mean someone like Tyler Smith gets a look at left tackle again. Maybe they view Asim Richards differently. Maybe they see Cooper as a center instead of a guard. As of now, if we're projecting the starting five, it's probably going to look like this. Tyler Guyton at left tackle, Tyler Smith at left guard, Cooper or Brock at center, Tyler Booker at right guard, and Terrence Steele at right tackle. That's the chalk lineup, what we'd expect on paper. But again, there's room for movement depending on how guys perform and what this coaching staff wants to emphasize. But what's clearly is this. By drafting Booker, the Cowboys raised the floor on this offensive line. The offensive line is in a weak link system. You're only as strong as your weakest link. And while Brock Hoffman and others have done a solid job of filling in, Booker is on another tier. He's the kind of guy that removes weak link from the equation, and that's massive. It's going to help Terrence Steele. If you look back at when Steele played his best football, it was when he was working next to Zach Martin, but he didn't have to overcompensate or worry about what was happening inside. Now with Booker next to him, he should be able to play faster, cleaner football. They can combo block together on duo runs. He can trust that inside help is there. And the offensive coordinator is going to play to those strengths. Run right behind Booker and Steele, lean on physicality. There's also something to be said for protecting Dak Prescott. You can help out a struggling tackle, put a tight end next to him, chip with a back, move the pocket, but you can't hide a weak guard. The pressure comes from the interior. It's hard to manage. So by locking in the three quality interior players, Smith, Booker, and either Cooper or Hoffman, you're giving Dak that reliable pocket he needs. Now let's talk about some comps. I was trying to think of a good player comparison for Booker. The only one that kept coming to mind was Landon Dickerson, another former Alabama offensive lineman. Dickerson was a second-round pick, partly because he had a torn ACL going into the draft process. As a prospect, he was strong, tough, and versatile. I think Booker's a bit stronger than Dickerson, but maybe not quite as athletic in space. Dickerson might have moved a little better, but Booker's smoother and more natural in his footwork. It's not a perfect comp, but it's close in terms of pedigree and playing style. And remember, Nick Saban was emotional when talking about Dickerson because of the leadership and toughness he brought. That's the same mold Booker comes from. Tough, physical, no-nonsense lineman who lead by example and dominate physically. And there's another comp I like even better, and that's Trey Smith from the Chiefs. Smith was a potential first-rounder, but he slipped due to a heart condition flagged during the draft process. He ended up going to Kansas City and becoming a foundational piece of their offensive line. Like Booker, Smith is huge, 6'5", 321 pounds, long arms, massive wingspan. Booker actually has longer arms and a bigger wingspan than Smith. Smith is a slightly better athlete, but the playing style is very similar. They both win with power, length, and violence. They're maulers, and like the Chiefs, the Cowboys could structure their offense around that physicality. Booker himself has even said he models his game after Tyler Smith, which makes a lot of sense. Those two have a lot in common: size, power, demeanor, even versatility to a degree. The difference is, Smith is a bit more athletic and probably more capable at tackle. That's why the Cowboys are comfortable playing him outside if needed. Booker, on the other hand, is a pure interior force. But in terms of pure people moving ability, Booker might end up being the more dominant of the two, which is saying something because Tyler Smith is an all-pro caliber guard. So, if you're the Cowboys, this pick gives you a physical identity on offense. It shores up your protection in front of Dak, gives you flexibility in the run game, and it adds another long-term building block on the offensive line. Booker is someone you can run behind for years to come. Now that we've talked about what Booker brings and how he fits schematically, let's finish by looking at how this affects the Cowboys' overall depth chart and what the potential long-term outcomes are for this pick. As I previously mentioned, there's a numbers problem on the interior offensive line. The Cowboys currently have too many guards and centers to carry in the season. They got Brock, Robert Jones, Hakeem, DJ Bass, Sadiq Charles, and now Booker. And that doesn't even count guys like Asim Richards who can kick inside. You're going to have to make decisions and likely move on from a few of these names before the season starts. But the other angle here is that they might be a shakeup in how the offensive line is configured entirely. We've hinted at this already, but it's worth repeating. With a new offensive line coach and a new scheme, there's potential for reshuffling. Maybe they decide to kick Tyler Smith back out to left tackle, where he has experience. Maybe they try Cooper at center full time. Maybe they view Tyler Guyton, the rookie from Oklahoma, differently than the draft community did. There are multiple scenarios that could play out between now and week 1. That said, the most likely configuration still feels pretty chalk for now. Left to right, Tyler at left tackle, Tyler Smith at left guard, Cooper or Brock at center, Tyler at right guard, and Terrence Steele at right tackle. That's a big physical offensive line, and it gives you balance in the run game and stability in pass protection. Booker's presence should also help Terrence Steele. Steele had a down year in 2023, in part because he didn't have the same consistency inside next to him. When he was at his best, he was working in tandem with Zach Martin. With Booker next to him now, communication improves, the chemistry improves, and he can get back to playing downhill football in the run game where he's most effective. And for Dak Prescott, this is a huge win. A strong interior allows Dak to step up into the pocket. And he's always said that's where he's most comfortable, dealing with edge pressure instead of interior chaos. So between Tyler Smith, Booker, and whoever wins the center job, you're building a wall in front of him that can handle stunts, blitzes, and power rushers alike. I also like how this affects play calling. If you feel confident in your interior, you can do a lot more. You can help your tackles with chips or motion. You can be aggressive with interior runs. You can control games late by running the ball behind your guards. This gives you options. Long term, this could be your core. If Smith stays at guard and BB locks down center, you could have one of the best interior trios in the NFL for years. That's a major win, especially considering how young these guys are. As for expectations, Booker isn't a project. He's ready to play now. He's started multiple years at Alabama, performed at a high level, and played in big games. He has the experience, toughness, and physical makeup to start week 1 and hold up just fine. I think he can be a plus starter in his rookie season. Maybe not elite right away, but very solid. And in time, he could develop into one of the most dominant guards in the NFC. So, to recap, this was a foundational pick. Tyler Booker fits the scheme, fits the attitude the offense wants to project, and gives you positional stability at a critical spot. You've raised the floor, protected your quarterback, and invested in the run game, all with one selection. There's still a lot of sorting out to do on the line overall, but this is a big step in the right direction. So that's it for today's show. Thanks again for making us your first listen. You can catch the Big D Breakdown show on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts. Of course, we'll be back next week to break down Donovan Azureau. Hopefully I'm saying that right. Cowboys' second round edge rusher. Make sure to tune in for that. We've got a lot to say about his potential impact. Until then, thanks for listening. And of course, check out our sponsor of this episode, which is Game Time. You're looking for the best place to find tickets to the Cowboys? You want to check out Game Time. Use the link in the description and score your tickets to the Dallas Cowboys preseason games. And with that, thanks so much for watching and listening. We'll see you next time.